And welcome back to the I Love This Movement live stream / later on is going to be podcast. And yeah, so this is day 4 and day 4 of this 45-day live challenge that I was challenged by my homeboy Nate Navas, the podcast doc. And it's trying to see what my voice is with all this, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's still scary. It's still kind of not something that's easy to do, especially because you have to kind of like think about the topics you're going to talk about, and people might think like, who are you? Well, who are you to bring up these things? Well, I'm nobody, but I experience these things, so like I'm just going off of my personal experience, right? I'm not here to, like I said, belittle anybody, make anybody feel like what their belief is false. Nah, it's, I'm just giving you my version of this. And, but today I really wanted to talk about something that's it's been kind of a roaming conversation that I've had with, a few different people. And that's, anxiety and, fear and procrastination, which all those are tied in together. And it's a difficult thing to kind of deal with sometimes, especially with kind of you don't know what the person has been going through, what kind of traumas they have in their past, and in order for you to get over that stuff, you really have to look into yourself and really find something, and be honest with yourself, and that's really, it's tough to do. It's tough to be honest with yourself. I've come through a lot of realization that regardless of, the moments that I feel like, hey, like I'm on top of my shit, like sometimes you can fall apart, and you make mistakes, and, you get, it becomes a tough thing. You know what I mean? If you're like me, you don't like to admit your mistakes very often. So it's kind of like a hard subject for me to touch on, because I'm experiencing this now as as I'm doing all this stuff. And this is kind of a reason why I, decided to do these live streams, as long as with as well as with, the challenge, like I accepted the challenge. And I think these types of challenges are cool, because they kind of do help you look into yourself and realize, like, there's things about yourself that you need to change. So it's a journey. It's the journey that's helping me out through all this. But, with my anxiety and with my fears, have stem a lot from PTSD. I was in Iraq, and, we dealt with the stuff that we did over there. I don't really want to go into that too much. But, and given the state of how the military is, things have we have a different perception of life, right? And so I remember when I first got out of the military, like at first everything was all party, right? It was all cool, because like, man, hell yeah, I got my DD-214, and that's like the paperwork that they tell you, like, oh, you're done with the military. So I had that, and I'm like, yeah, it's almost like as if I graduated high school or graduated, college, and you get that diploma, that degree, you're just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it was dope, right? It was a good feeling. After that, like, I was in the reserves. So I was in the Army, the United States Army, active in what's it called? In a company called the 66th Engineer Company, which is defunct now. They merged into a company called, or a battalion, the 65th Engineer Battalion. And so what we did out in Iraq is we looked for IEDs, and I was their doc. And that's kind of why I got into this field of physical therapy, because I didn't want to see that, the trauma anymore. And so shout out to all my boys from the 6-6. I miss you guys, and even the ones that aren't here anymore. Like, man, I'll never forget you guys. All my battle buddies that I served with, even if it was in combat or outside of that, like, if you're no longer here, man, I love you guys, man. You guys have impacted me in a crazy way that has really led me to kind of do these things, be, speak about these struggles, because, a lot of people aren't aware of them, or they're aware of them, but they just don't really, like, they acknowledge them, but they forget, is what I guess what I'm trying to say, is that they forget, right? So, and it sucks that, the sacrifices that they made, and or even, them taking them doing those actions, and they're no longer here. A lot of them are really hurts, especially those ones that I was really close with. And I truly miss those guys. But anyways, let me get out of that topic, because that's just like a whole another bag of worms that I don't want to touch. But with all that, like, I had this, I started having this anxiety, especially when I got out of the service. Being inside, the military, you're a bunch of, like, around a bunch of down. You're around a bunch of guys that are just like you, right? And they're no different than you. They're, so you all act the same. So like-minded people, right? And so when you got out, like, those types of things, that aggressiveness that I had, and or we have, it just doesn't work here in the what we call the civilian world, right? And you just notice the difference. On top of that is, they don't do a really good job of desensitizing you from combat, from all that stuff. Like, I remember I was home, and I was at a gym close by, and I would see people in what we call, like, their traditional gear that they wear down in like in Iraq or Afghanistan. And I would that would scare me. Like, I start trembling, because, like, especially when they dressed just like them, that some of that stuff that I've seen out there, because it just, I don't know, it just, maybe it was the anger, maybe it was it was everything that I experienced, just kind of like, and it's like, it's not fair, and that takes some time to kind of get over. And so, I started seeking help, and started seeking my, like, psychology, and I started speaking to people, and going through the VA, right? And so I thought I was, doing really well. And when I got to when I started working at this clinic, everything was cool. Like, I had gone through some stuff, at school, but, like, I almost got kicked out of school. And but that led me to change, kind of like, after I graduated from there, I went to go work at this clinic, and I ended up working there really happily, actually. It was a great place for me to be. But given what COVID was like, it really got harder. It wasn't as enjoyable as it was, and as much as I tried to make it, like, enjoyable, it was tough. Like, a lot of times I lied to myself, and sometimes, like, I'm a person that feeds off of people's vibes. I feed off of you. I feed off of this person. And that becomes kind of tough too, especially if that person that you're working with directly is very negative. It can impact you, And that impacted me. Like, it would make my day fucking shitty, right? And as much as I tried not to let that get the best of me, it did. It always did. Um, so I would do what I could do to uh, make this work for me. Okay. Um, so when COVID hit, it just kind of sucked, right? And I took over as like one of the the scheduling aide over at the clinic, and everything went well at first. Started getting the people group together, but it was still kind of really tough. Like, even the people that I was kind of working with, like, there were just certain things that I noticed that I didn't like, and that I wanted to try to change those things, right? Coming back from a military background, like, I wanted to make these changes. I wanted to make these things different, you know. And some things worked. Some things, like, they were to my benefit, and then there were other ones that weren't. And somewhere around that line, I kind of just like started kind of spiraling down, right, and becoming toxic, and becoming this like hard to work with. It was obvious. Like, I can see it. I can see it happening. Like, it was pretty much right after Veterans Day. And I seen this. Like, you know it almost felt like, man, do I stink? Like, really? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is everybody like away from me? And I was really clueless. I had no idea what was going on. I thought everything was cool. But no, it wasn't. And so, I was trying to figure out, like, man, what's going on? What the hell's going on? And so, like, I just kind of let it be. I just let it be, until finally uh one of my coworkers is like, "Hey, dude, you're kind of difficult to be around." And I'm like, what? Like, really? Like, yeah, like, you have this kind of like this growl, and you look like you're mad all the time, and you're like, don't want to talk to anybody. I'm like, bro, like, I had no idea. Like, I got a lot on my mind. It's around the holidays, and I'm going through all these different emotions because, like, you know, I got homies that that passed away, around this time from my time in service. There's some things that happen over there that just kind of like affect me, that sometimes those dates come around, or something similar, or something just kind of like, you start remembering things, right? And so it started becoming like, it was a tough time. Generally, uh the end of the year, towards the holidays, is a tough time anyways. But before, I had like a getaway, right? I had a getaway. It was Disneyland. I love going to Disneyland. Regardless if there's explosions, yeah, sometimes it catch me off guard, especially because, being with sappers, that's what we did. We look for explosions, but like, or look for bombs, IEDs, right? And but like, there was something comforting in going to Disneyland. It just reminded me of something. I was a little kid, so like, that helped me out a lot, right? And then, man, but during this time, like, there was none of that. We didn't have none of that. We didn't have those moments where, we can go out there and just really relieve some stress. And these were like my coworkers. We would go to Disneyland all the time, especially towards the beginning of 2020. We were at Disneyland like all the fucking time. Like, it was so much fun. We went to like the Galaxy's Edge kind of premiere. We went to the holidays. We went like, hey, you guys want to go after work? We would go right after work. And man, I had such a great time. And I like, it was awesome. Like, and then once the ride Rises of the Resistance opened, like, man, we were there like almost every Saturday or Sunday, just trying to get on that ride. Because it was pretty tough, especially because it was just so brand new. And in the end, I got to ride it. The only one that didn't get to ride it was the PT that I worked with. Match Locum, right? And he just like he was there, but he couldn't stay, so he ended up leaving. Um, he was but like me and one of my coworkers, or I think by that time was he still working? Yeah, he was still working there. He Kendrick's like we got on it. We're like, yeah, and we kind of like he bragged about it and all that. It was cool, right? And but we've tried, and then one of the days that we were trying, that's the day that Kobe died. And we are like, what? Like he died. And that impacted everybody. And that was just kind of the beginning of all this mess in 2020. 2020 is a year we just want to kind of throw away and just like forget. Um, so yeah, I had those outlets, those releases, and and I think we all did. We all had like some type of thing that we did that we couldn't do anymore. Maybe that you go to a bar, you go to a club, you go to these places, right? So it was one of those places where you can relieve some stress and let go of that anxiety, right? And that just wasn't there anymore. And so all these feelings just kept building inside of me to the point where man, I just didn't like being at work. Like I could see how everybody was acting towards me. I can see everybody how was being towards me, and I, probably deserved it. Like, I'm sure I deserved it, and uh, but it was still kind of difficult at that time to kind of deal with because I was in the right state of mind. Me dealing with PTSD and kind of the things that I'm going through. And and it's one of those things, like I don't want to use that as an excuse, right? Because like I'm still accountable for my own actions, but at the same time, like I do have like a mental health problem, right? And so finally I decided like I just couldn't do it anymore, and I just hit up the the director and told him like, hey dude, like I just can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And it just kind of he told me like, yeah, you take as much time as you need, do whatever you can, dude. Like go help yourself, work on yourself. I was going through a lot. I'm 37, still trying to pursue physical therapy, which now finally I actually got in, right? But that was tough. Like you're just thinking like, man, I'm just getting older. Like what do I do? Like do I keep pursuing this dream, or do I just find something else? So there's that. There's just the kind of the things that was happening with me, the memories that I'm having of my buddies and just kind of these anniversaries that are going on. On top of that, like COVID was killing my family, not my here in my household, but like was having like family members like go down. My one of my aunts was the first ones to go, and back in April, and then that was tough. April of last year, and yeah, and that impacted us hard. And then so there's just all these different types of like just things that were going on, right? And I'm very expressed. I express myself pretty good, but it was tough. It was tough to kind of like during that time. And so what I ended up doing, I just left. I was just like, hey guys, like I got to work on myself. So he gave me medical leave, and then I went to go get help from the VA and kind of just started working on myself, right? One of the things that actually helped me out was I found this place called the South Coast Botanical Garden. Okay, and I'm a true believer that you need a place to go to release some stress. Something that has like uses your smells, something that you can see, some stuff that you can hear. Like you need that stuff. You have to have that. If you don't have that, like it becomes difficult to be able to let go some of that anxiety, right? But that's a place that you like. Okay, can't just be your room, because when you're in your room, you just stagnate there. you're in the same place, you're always going to be doing the same shit. He goes, but I found the South Coast Botanical Garden. It's in, I think it's Rolling Hills or Torrance. And I got a membership, and man, that was badass, Like there's a bunch of pretty flowers, there's trails, and I'm like, I love nature. I love going outside. I like being outside, walking trails, walking hills, doing all that, right? And honestly, that started saving me, because I think I don't know, maybe I was contemplating suicide. I'm not sure. And like, it's hard for me to admit that, but maybe I was. I don't know. Not just because stuff at work, but just everything. Everything just came crashing down. And so instead, I just I had good things. I have really good friends, my buddy Nate Navas, he helped me out a lot. Kind of like, he's there to listen. He checks up on me. I got my girl Diana, she's there and she checks on me, and sometimes when it rains, it pours, and it becomes really tough, The reason I'm directing a lot towards the clinic is because it's like, that was my life. That was like, man, I love those people. And it's crazy because I can't even go over there. My anxiety is so man, I want to go get I still have stuff there, and it's tough for me to go over there. Right. And so that's what I mean. I'm going through these things as well, and I'm into that position where I'm just going to go pick up my stuff, and be okay with whatever the outcome is. I just have to be okay with that. I can't loathe and expect the best things. If that's where it is, that's where it ends. And if they always want to be my friends and kind of reach out to me again, hey, I'm gonna welcome them with open arms. I made a lot of bad decisions when it came across how to deal with the situation, because it's not easy to deal with the situation, especially, when you come back from a background where you're like, hey, just get your fucking shit done and fucking go. That's it. Just do your fucking work, But people aren't like that these days. People aren't don't respond to that the way, maybe guys in the military do. And even in the military, things have changed. It's not like how it was when I went through it. And of course, when I was going through it, it wasn't like how it was when maybe people 10, 15 years before that were going through it. So anxiety. Okay, so I have anxiety. And it's a tough thing. Now I'm going to relate that towards dancing. Okay. That anxiety can stop you from actually showcasing yourself. If you really like doing this and you really feel like it's a form of expression, why wouldn't you do it in front of people? Why get intimidated when you have, somebody that's better than you in dancing? It's because you feel that maybe you're not good enough, right? Or maybe you don't want to do this, or maybe you're not worthy enough, right? Or maybe they're going to hate. But in the end, it's kind of that's a risk you just got to take. You just got to take it. Most of the time people are going to show love. It's tough because, if you're really good, then people are going to tell you you're really good. And then if you're not, people aren't going to tell you shit. That's just how it was, or how it is, and, I think the community has gotten better. I mean, there's still a lot of crazinesses inside there, but the community's gotten better. But I can see there is a lot of anxiety about that. But you have to deal with that anxiety, because it starts leaning onto different aspects in your life, right? So if you have anxiety, it's going to lead you to procrastinate. You're just going to be so anxious about doing that one thing. May it be recording a 1-minute video for a battle. May it be, doing your final showcase for a mentor. May it be just even stepping into cipher with people, like you're going to have that trouble if you don't deal with that anxiety. It's very linear. Everything's very linear. And to be quite honest, is like whatever you're anxious about or is holding you back, that's making you afraid to actually put yourself out there, is holding you back. Like I said, everything's very linear. Very linear. And it's just, it might not even be anything that has to do with dance. You guys ever thought about that? Like, I know some of the stuff that I have stemming that, what the things I don't do with my dancing could be like performing, or at first it was just like making, showing facial expressions. Like I was very anxious of that because people might say like, oh, look at this stupid face, I go, but at the same time, like, man, if that shows a lot of character and it improves your dance, why not do it? Like, you got to be able to step out of your comfort zone, straight up. Like, that's the only way you're going to get better at things. You got to step out of your comfort zone. And I know that's it's a very difficult thing to actually admit. Well, it's easier said than done, right? Yeah, for sure. It's easier said than done. But the process of how to make that happen and be able to do that is very easy. Honestly, it's so easy. It's stupid easy. Like you won't believe it. And that's called the principle of autosuggestion. What principle of autosuggestion is you giving yourself constant reminders that you're going to finish these things or accomplish these goals. That's pretty much it. I have a little thing here that I found online. I mean, I read this book, right? And this book is actually Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read that book, man, you guys got it. You're doing yourself an in-service. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And that book is goddamn like a manual. It's actually for making riches. It's like the blueprint. And if you do every single step and you just keep working at it, like persistence pays off. Okay. And so persistence pays off. You just got to keep doing it. Okay. So autosuggestion. Okay. And if you want to read Think and Grow Rich, I put the link to like on Amazon. It has nothing to do with like, I'm not getting out of it. I'm just sharing it because I really think this book is really awesome. Okay. Before I actually get into this, so I got into Napoleon Hill because I read a book called Outwitting the Devil. That's also down in the description, right? And he has this conversation like with the devil. Now, that's one of those things that's like, did he really have a conversation with the devil? Or is this dude just fucking nuts? It doesn't matter. Okay. It really doesn't matter because just these things that he talks about with the devil and how like the devil tries to like make you drift. Okay. So if you're here and if you're over one extreme or the other extreme, like you want to be here. Okay. Because the devil's going to pull you this way or he's going to pull you. Where's the camera? There, that way. Okay. So you want to have a nice, a sense of balance. And the main purpose of that book is so you can think pretty much. And you can think not just what other people have like that have taught you to think that way. Like, you were raised to think this way or the school system taught you to think this way. No, like think for yourself, the power and the will to think for yourself. And that's what this book is really telling. That book is really telling you about, but it's a crazy book. It's very has touchy subjects on it. He wrote that book probably around the same time he wrote Think and Grow Rich, and but they locked it up because it was so edgy that it was going to like disturb a lot of people. So if you haven't read that book, make sure read Outwitting the Devil. But Think and Grow Rich, Autosuggestion. Okay, so from that book, I got into this book, right? And let's see, it's the third principle because he has different principles, right? I don't want to get too much into it. I want you guys to read the book. So autosuggestion, and what they say is a term which applies to all suggestions, all self-administered stimuli which read one's mind through the five senses. Okay, that means using whatever you can to kind of like suggest a certain action that you want. Okay, realistically, it's kind of like when you're training your dog. Like if you want them to do something, you have to kind of show them different aspects of like this is the thing that you want them to do. Okay, and so that's what you're doing yourself. May it be you write yourself some affirmations like never give up. That's right behind me. You know, I was trying to point at it, but yeah, there it is. And you know, or you know, some other ones. Yeah, you can't see it. That I have like back there says you're a champion. But for these ones, for this auto suggestion, you want to like write down what you want to do, write down your goals and what and how you're going to accomplish them. Okay. And be definitive and have a date by when you want to do that. And it should come to you. Right. But you have to work on it every day. There's going to be those times that you're like, oh man, like, I don't really feel like doing it when you start to procrastinate. Okay. When you catch yourself doing that, just kind of like sit down for a moment, get into like a meditation and think about it. Like, hey, like, why don't I want to do this? Why am I afraid of doing this? You know, and figure that out. And once you start figuring that out, like you start noticing that maybe the issue that I have has nothing to do with dance at all. It's probably something more specific, you know, outside of the community, outside of your dancing. Okay. And whatever you do is you got to actually go see that and try to fix it, you know, try to drive into that issue and see like, what can you do to help with that? If that means, you know, getting little wins every single day in order to make that happen, then that's what you do. You know, that was partly why I started the 75-day hard challenge, because those were little wins that I had every single day. Not only that, but I had a PDF version of this 75-day hard challenge. And every day that I would finish something, I would check it off, check it off, check it off, check it off. And I can see my progress, right? And I started like, did something to myself. It did something to me, right? It made me start feeling better about myself. Really start like trying to make some changes in myself. You know, I'm to the point where I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about these things. I mean, a lot of people, you know, like I said, I don't care if anybody listens to this. I'm doing this for me. He goes, but if you can get a little bit of help out of it, then hey, you get some help. It's not easy. You know, we don't always have the answers. Sometimes we got to kind of look for the answers and apply those teachings to what we do. Okay. But some of the things that did help a lot was, you know, reading. I read a lot. You know, I was reading a lot of books, like the ones I just kind of mentioned, you know, and some of them that helped were the ones that I read where the people were going through that struggle. You know, like the Mama Mentality, man. I like that book. It's a really easy read. But I like that book because it's, you know, first of all, LA, Lakers, Kobe, you know, but like he ruptured his Achilles tendon playing basketball and people thought he was like, he's done. That's it. He's done. Wrap it. It's a wrap. Right. He goes, but for me, like I can understand that because I ruptured my Achilles tendon. I ruptured both of them, not just one, both at different times in my life. And I think I even like ruptured one twice. Like I never got surgery because it was a partial rupture, but one of them I got all the way back, and the other one I can't even tippy toe with. Like On my left side, if I try to get up, like I can't even get up. People think when I limp around, they're like, "Oh, why you walking your pimp walk, dog?" And I'm like, because I'm a pimp. Nah, nah, for real. It's like you would think like I would have a pimp walk, and I was like I wouldn't even notice it. It was just something that I've always had. Um, but that's also made it difficult for me to kind of do some moves when I'm dancing, right? And it's not. I could have just said, "All right, it's done," but I kept doing it. I kept doing my dance. Like I didn't let that stop me. So you shouldn't let anything stop you. Sometimes it takes little wins. Sometimes it's just showing up that helps. Just show up. If you're gonna do a battle, especially right now we're doing like there's a lot of online battles, just submit a video. Like there's a lot of factors that go into um these battles, right? Like, oh, your YouTube or your IG page, or if you look the part, or who do you know, and then what's your credit and reputation, and like all that. Like realistically, like I mean, you can only control what you can control. If you want to do all that stuff, like which I suggest you do, even for myself, that's something I'm like, oh damn, like okay, I guess I have to have a professional page for all that, right? Not only do I'm gonna have one for my physical therapy stuff, but at the same time, I need to have one for my dancing stuff, or maybe I'll just combine the two some way or one, right? But regardless, like I gotta have different pages, so you know that's part of the process. So do that, like once you do that, that's a win. If you're like, oh, I'm not really a person that takes pictures, well, guess what? Like if you take a picture and you start uploading it, that's a win. Like you're making some changes. Stop doing the same shit over and over again. That's just insanity. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same shit over and over again. The only time that shit works is when you're drilling. That's it. Because you trying to get clean, right? But like if something's not working and you keep trying to make it work, nah. If you need help, go find help. If you need guidance, go find guidance. If you need somebody to talk to, just call somebody. Call me. Like, I'll do whatever I can for you. Y'all got my IG, it's down there. Send me a message. I'll be like, hey man, I can help you with what I can. Now, if you're looking for financial stuff, hey bro, I might not be able to help you there. But if it's something that's like, hey, I'm kind of going through these things, or even if it's like, hey Serge, like, thanks. Like I can really resonate with some of the stuff that you were saying. Let me know. Because then I know this is worth it. I know what it's worth it for me. But I know that this is impacting people. And that's what I want to do. I want to impact people. So for anxiety, you got to work on it. It takes work. It don't work unless you do. Okay, you got to work. Practice autosuggestion. Principle number 3. Use it in meditation. You know what's crazy is that every single book, every self-help book will tell you these same things. It's just recycled material, just spit it out differently. When you're getting ready to battle, you start going through that anxiety of just trying to select a 1-minute video. Man, just posting a video is a win. You don't know what they're looking for. You don't know who the judges are. You don't know what what type of person they're looking for. Everybody has their own opinion of what they like to see. And sometimes it's not saying that you're not dope, that you're not good. Stop letting that be the reason why you stop kind of exposing yourself to, and showing your art form, your form of expression. Like don't let that be the case. Don't let the case be you find, somebody that's like better than you and they're smoking everybody. Like, dude, you want to be around better people. Why? Because that's only going to make you better. you need to get smoked. You know, you need to have that inspiration, you know. You need to be able to feel those things to be like, man, fuck that. Like, nah, that shit ain't happening. I'm gonna go back out there and get better and I'm gonna smoke these fools, you know, like that's just how you get better. You gotta be able to use that fuel and use it to your advantage. It's not always easy, yo. Especially when fear comes in. It gets tough. Because then you start procrastinating. And then all of a sudden, like, it's the next day and you forgot to post, but you didn't forget to post. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. You didn't forget to post. You just didn't want to post. Like, if you really wanted to be part of something or part of that battle, or, you know, be judged by that person, or be, you know, past that mentorship and all that, like, and you didn't show up, like, you knew you weren't going to do it. So don't blame anything. Just blame yourself. But that doesn't mean that you can't make these changes. Acknowledge them. Be like, damn, I did. Like, go out there and change that. Start doing the stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Start working. Get those little wins. Little wins. The once a day wins. If it takes you to start winning is like, hey, I brushed my teeth today. Boom. Hey, if that's a win, that's a win. Hey, I brushed my hair today. Boom. Hey, that's a win. Hey, I stepped outside today. First time since like 7 months. Like, hey, congratulations. Get that vitamin D. You know, like, but you gotta win. You gotta create these small wins, because these small wins are what makes the greatest impact. You know, so just some thought right there. And yeah, I'm just gonna end it there, because like I'm out of things to say, and I gotta go walk at the South Coast Botanical Garden. If you live in the LA area, you haven't been there, I'm gonna add that down here too. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow. And if you guys like this, if you guys felt like you got something out of it, please leave a comment, subscribe, and peace out, homies.